This strategy right here, guys, is really the only strategy that can be utilized with the weapon type called the scout rifle. Now, I know you never heard of it. The hell even is that? Just imagine a pulse rifle, but way worse. So bad, in fact, that I have to sit here next to this column for cover and peck away at enemies, hoping and praying we get a kill. Normally, this results in a single guardian pushing me and solo supering me, because why not? Yet I'm pissed them off, man. Shooting them across the map with a weapon type known as a scout rifle. This is Destiny 2. Don't be bringing those weapons in here. But what is the main function of a scout rifle? Well, it's really good at killing AFK people. A lot of weapons might have difficulty hitting that target from so far away, despite it standing still. But a scout rifle has no problem with that. But everything else, pretty much worthless. Guys, we're going to be talking about scout rifles today. Mainly our legendary ones, because they are not in a good spot. Now, somebody in the comments right now is going to be like, yo, man, I go in all the time with my scout rifle. I got my nameless midnight, I lube her up just for safe measure, and we jump in the crucible and go in. I'm so proud of you. But for the rest of us mortals, yes, legendary scout rifles are just not good. Let's take our favorite scout rifle here recently that was a pinnacle weapon, Oxygen SR3, a 180 round per minute precision rifle. Came with the magnificent perk Mega Neura, essentially allowing for Dragonfly to deal more damage, and with something like a Dragonfly spec, Oxygen should be packing quite an explosive experience. But it's sitting at a 1 star out of 5 on Destiny Item Manager, and well, that's not far off. It's quite terrible. Now, there's some people in the comments section defending it, but then the resounding logic, why not use loaded question? Seems to keep popping up, and yeah, that is correct. Why not use loaded question? It's got bigger explosions, but even when we look at it inside of PvP, again, as bad as scout rifles may appear in PvE, legendary scout rifles are just as bad, if not worse, in PvP. There is not many times in which both sides of the spectrum, PvE players and PvP players, can come together and unite on one front outside of maybe Area 51. But scout rifles is something that everyone can agree on. It's just piss poor. Another scout rifle we recently got to play with. I was very excited to pick this one up. Black Scorpion. Now, mine actually came with a pretty decent roll. Zen Moment, accurized round, fluted barrel. I had quick handling. Simultaneously, though, Zen Moment was to keep my weapon stable. And if there's one thing that 260 round per minute scout rifles do run into, is a lack of range. But lo and behold, mine came with a range masterwork. This Vice rapid fire scout rifle was to be amazing. And for a short minute, I was almost fooled. It was amazing. It got kills. I thought for a second there, we actually found a new meta. But I loaded up into a Rumble game, which is a very humbling playlist whenever you try to use something outside of the meta or one-eye mask, and immediately I realized Black Scorpion cannot hang in 1v1 confrontations. Now, some of you say, hey, that's ridiculous. Why would you ever think that this rapid-fire Vice Scout rifle could ever hang in a 1v1 against weapons like Blast Furnace, Last Word, Ace of Spades, Thorn? You foolish, foolish man. And you're right. A part of me was just hopeful. But maybe that's not where it is. Maybe Black Scorpion, despite it being a pretty decent roll, maybe that's not the weapon that should be representing our legendary scouts. I then turned to 200 round per minute scout rifles. The Vouchsafe Old Faithful. Oh, this girl hadn't let me down yet. I've talked good about her, and I actually got a roll that was half decent. Full auto, explosive rounds, flared magwell, which is kind of like but fluted barrel, quick handling, as well as the stability masterwork. The weapon's got enough range. This could be it, fellas. This could be the scout rifle that made me say this is the gem that was hidden in the rough. This is the one that Bungie snuck in here. Every time we've asked for scout rifle buffs, they said, nah. In Vouchsafe we trust. It's a hidden meta, boys. You just gotta use it. After using it and playing like an absolute vagina for 2 games, I realized very quickly Vouchsafe is not it either. Although it is better than 180s. And it's kinda tied there with 260s. The fact remains, legendary scout rifles just doesn't feel good. Now, I play on PC, but I also play on both platforms. Do we see scout rifles on consoles? Every now and then, yeah. But it's normally bygone capital for the most part. And on PC, it's a hand cannon meta. But pretty much anytime you ever try to put a scout rifle on and you go against a pulse rifle, you're gonna get flinched out of your mind. And 9 times out of 10, if the person shooting you has even half a thumb, they'll be able to kill you. Hand cannons, same scenario. Now, how do we fix scout rifles? Because this is a huge debate, and one of which I used to say, we just need bigger maps. Give me some Widow's Court, give me some First Light, spread that mess out, and you'll finally see a resurgence of scout rifles. But I think we're wrong there, fellas. I don't think a huge map change will necessarily see a big jump in scout rifle usage. I want to believe that's the fix, but I'm about to ask for something that is going to take the breath out of everyone. I'm about to ask for something that nobody ever wants to be behind. Everyone says yes, they want to see scout rifles improve, but no one ever wants to say the word buff. Buff to scout rifles. You're free to lose your mind now. Ever since year 1 of Destiny 2, when Might and Multi-Tool was reigning supreme inside of Crucible and inside of Trials, people have been anti-scout rifles since then. So every time we ever mention buffing the weapon, all I hear is, oh, so the dads can just sit in the back? And I will say, as a dad, yes, I probably will sit in the back a little bit, all right? Because your ass is sitting there with the last word that can kill me in 0.5 seconds. I don't want to deal with you. The weapons themselves that have been brought to us since Forsaken, though, and throughout this entire annual pass, have been just increasingly getting more lethal. But in terms of scout rifles, the only ones that can kinda compete are the exotic scout rifles. Polaris Lance is still really good. Jade Rabbit can still compete, especially with the Catalyst. Mod and Multi-Tool, even though no one likes to talk about Mod and Multi-Tool, still a very good feeling scout rifle. But in terms of our legendary scout rifles, I've played with some really good rolls here, guys. They just can't hang, man. They can't hang against what is currently meta. Even the best rolled legendary scout rifles, you'll still find them coming short to their exotic counterparts. Now, we've got a big sandbox change coming. I don't know when it's gonna be. A lot of people are speculating it's gonna be like Forsaken, where it launches a week before Shadowkeep. Now, whether or not we actually see this sandbox change in Shadowkeep, or we get it as early as something like Solar Week, the fact is, inside of that sandbox needs to be a buff to all scout rifles. Now, there's a lot of things we can do here. You can either go to there and increase the forgiveness of all of these weapons. And literally, all that means is making each consecutive archetype require 1 less crit, but 1 more body. And this, of course, would mean an increase in lethality. But if there is a weapon type that does need a damage increase, it would be scout rifles, for both PvE and for PvP. And this isn't a new topic. Back in May, I made the same exact video on dead weapons. And it was essentially a 5-minute video where I sat there and I vented about scout rifles, but I never really got down and said we needed to buff the damage. I really just said we needed bigger maps. But I'm here to say today, scout rifles, damage-wise, need a buff across the board, because despite whatever maps they may introduce in the future, even with the return of something like Widow's Court, hand cannons and pulse rifles will still continue to dominate. Maps will not fix our problem here. When the pinnacle weapon from the Vanguard last season was a scout rifle and you don't see a single soul using it, there's a problem. And I'm not saying that every pinnacle weapon is being used constantly, but when was the last time you saw oxygen being used? Like, to me, I thought it was going to be the ultimate gambit weapon, but no, nobody uses it because there's so many weapons that can do what oxygen does way better and way faster. Overall, guys, this is my mathematical suggestions for the weapons inside of Crucible in regards to archetypes. Some people aren't going to like this. Many of our dedicated Crucible players are immediately going to shoot this down. This is my suggestion. So yes, I am asking for not only more forgiveness for our scout rifles, but also a nice little damage buff. Now let me know in the comments below what you think. I'm not in charge of the sandbox, but we do cover a lot of sandbox related stuff. And if there's anything that's been neglected in terms of weapon types, scout rifles are it. Now, there is a ton of other weapons we can bring up in this conversation. So we'll be talking about auto rifles probably here in the next week, as well as something like sidearms. Both of which, again, very similar to scout rifles. Every time we bring up these weapon types, everyone gets butthole puckered. And I really think it's because of year 1 D2. We bring up auto rifle, people are like, oh my god, no, not another Uriel meta. We bring up sidearms, people are like, hell no. Do you not remember the Last Hope meta? Listen, there's a reason why those weapons haven't been touched in the past year. and it's because everyone immediately shies away from those weapon types. It's been a whole year though, and it's really time to start seeing some other weapons compete inside of Crucible. Well, fellas and ladies, hey, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.